Hey guys, Monty Kev and SHRIMBO here up at REW Hobbies, getting ready for our big tournament on February 22nd. Little three-part video series here. We're taking both of our tournament decks, or at least where we're at with our tournament decks, doing a deck profile for each, and then we're gonna square off and see which deck in playtesting is ready to go. And I'll give you a hint: this guy may have won both 2 out of 3. So all I have to say is Aquas Greaves, Lup-Guard, Lup-Guard, or whatever you want to say. It's probably a real thing. It does work. So you got any final comments on that?
I want to say that Lup-Guard is a monster that has been sitting on the bench for far too long.
All right, so check out our 3-part series here. We are getting ready for our February 22nd tournament right here at REW Hobbies. Battle for the booster box. Winner is going to get 24 packs of Age of Aurelius. So if you are anywhere in the tri-state area, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, make the drive up February 22nd and see if you can brawl with the best of us and win this box. I know I want to win the box. I know this guy wants to win the box. We're going to show you our 2 decks tonight, and then we're going to play them off best of 3 and see where we're at with 1 week to go, and I'm sure plenty of editing left, right? Enjoy the game, enjoy the deck profiles.
Hey guys, it's me, SHRIMBO. I am here going over my deck that I'm going to be using for our tournament here at RIW on the 22nd of February. It is a variant of what Hunter Surge has been kind of showing off recently is Lup-Guard, and it has some interesting effects that I really did enjoy, so I figured that I would try it out coming this tournament. So I'll start with my action cards. First we have Deep Dive, which is just a 1-cost reroll, and it lets you draw 1. Just getting the draw off is kind of easy and helps you to roll off early on, as well as it's a low cost, so being able to reroll for a low cost is always important. Next off, we have 2 copies of Aquify, and so Aquify is the card that I have to run in order to beat Kevin. Being able to pay 1, very important, and swap your cores is super interesting. It allows you to kind of actually go up against those big, huge Magic Shield decks without having to actually run your Magic Shields. You can steal them from your opponent, or if they just get a bonus from a core, you can, of course, just switch them right off, and they're screwed unless they can get a reroll to land again. Next is 3 copies of Flooding Water. Flooding Water is just a good card just because it gives you plus 200 for each Aquas Bakugan you have, so I will get a plus 400 bonus from that. So just being able to keep consistent with that. Next up, we have Nature's Power. And Nature's Power just gives a non-Ventus Bakugan minus 500. It's just a really good card. 1 cost, always good. Now we move to 2 costs. That is Blinding Ink that we run 3 copies of. Just letting you negate smaller stuff. Super important, get rid of Song of Fire, get rid of any of those little rerolls. Pretty much you will be able to block anything unless it's a card that does a ton to the game. Next we have Wave Slash. Ooh, I just realized. Wave Slash is a 3-cost card that gives you plus 300, but 1,000 if you played a card beforehand. So super good to just be able to play it and get a ton of B power that your opponent cannot get over usually. Next is 3 copies of Tusk-Guard. And this will go into the play with the Hyperloop Pythion Ultra, which I'll set to the side here for y'all to look at. It is a card that costs 6, which is completely unplayable. That gives minus 800, which is good. But you can play it for free if you play any card that costs 5 or more. So being able to play a card that costs 5 or more and then straight go and play this for free is, ooh, real good. And that will go off onto Hyperloop Pythion, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Next, we just have flip cards. So we have 2 copies of Rock Riser. It's a 1 cost that blocks shields or magic shields. Just really good for up against Maximus Nilius decks or Magic Shield Fire Fist decks. Next is Mysterious Mist, which blocks for 2 cost Arliss Bakugan, Chaos Bakugan, and Pyrus. All the ones that my compatriot here likes to play, which is just a coincidence, but these are, in my opinion, kind of your powerhouse factions, and being able to block the faction that lets cards be free, or the faction that gets an insane amount of B power for low cost, I'm cool with that. And last for flip cards is 2 copies of Counter Outsiders, which just blocks it on Aquis. My parts around the road, not a lot of people are playing Aquis, so it's super helpful to me. Next, we're going into gear cards. So for Baku Gear, I have 2 copies of Tempest Generator, which is just a 1/1, and will let you reroll for 2. It's not really anything special. You're mostly playing it for the reroll and being able to play it for a lower cost with a core such as this or this. So being able to play it for free or for only 1 cost is much better for the reroll and gives you that permanent 1/1. And 3 copies of the best card in the deck, Aquis Greaves. So Aquis Greaves is an amazing card and comes in pretty much every single gear, anything that has to do with Aquis. It gives you +4 Frost, 200 B power, and 4 damage for 5 energy, which sounds terrible until you realize, yes, with this core, I can now pay 3 cost for this, which is a lot better. And the 4 Frost on it is insane, and I'll get into that in a little bit. Lastly, for the gears, we have 1 Baku Mortar, literally just because it has slightly better stats than Aquis Greaves, and you can't run more copies of Aquis Greaves. We only run 1 hero, but we run 3 copies of it. Strata, my favorite card in the game. Lets all players in the game draw 2 cards, or it forces them to. And obviously, the more Stratas you have, the more it stacks. Super good for getting the cards that you need when you need them into your hand, as well as decking your opponent's whole deck out without having to deal damage. And you have different stuff such as your Aquafies and your Blinding Inks and stuff like that that you can draw into to hopefully negate anything that your opponent draws into. And lastly, we just have Evos. So at this point, because I forgot to, I'll also go into which Bakugan I'm running. Here's Lupithion with the Evo, which comes with a shield and a helix. So I'm running a +400 shield because it's going to give me that biggest boost that I can get, as well as a +500 -1 for, again, biggest boost I can get. Ventus Lupithion is the star of the deck due to the fact that, like I was saying before, If you land on this, you can pay 3 for Aquas Greaves. And if you pay for Aquas Greaves, that means you can play Tusk-Guard for free, because it is a 5 or more card. And Lupithion, as hopefully you've been reading, when you play a card that costs 5 or more, it gets plus 500 and 5 damage for the turn. So, by being able to go and play this for cheaper, being able to play Aquas Greaves for cheaper, and Tusk-Guard for cheaper, or for free rather, you can get a ton of B power onto this Lupithion instantaneously, and it's incredible when it goes off. It's extra nice because it also gives you the damage, which goes with this damage, and the 4 Frost, which most of the time, by the time you get this combo off, you're gonna win the game. Next is Hydarus. He does not have an Evo. This is the new Hydarus from Armored Alliance, and he has a Helix, which is a plus 500 minus 1, and of course, that notorious minus 2, plus 50 and 1 damage. And he's just super good. He's just a powerhouse. He's basically just your Hydronoid, Artless Hydronoid if you're running Aquas. Super good, like him, great to put gears on, move on. Does not open though. Lastly, which is a weird pick, and I will not disagree, this is definitely the Bakugan who would have to move if I had to change out a Bakugan, is Titan Pegatrix Ultra. It is a 4 cost, which is expensive. It has 1000 B power, which sucks, and 6 damage, which isn't that bad. Here's the thing that's amazing about it. When it evolves, and you get the Victor, 400, of course, and one last minus 2. But it has the effect of having Victor. You can reveal the top card of your deck, and then get damage based on double the amount that you flipped. So, if it has 6 damage and I flipped this card, that is 6, goes to 12, plus the 6 is 18 damage. That is the most amount I can do with Pegatrix in this deck, but, and she's definitely here due to the fact that I run Tusk-Guard and Aquas Greaves and such high costs. But if Lupithion can't do any damage, she is going to. So, is your best way of getting damage out through Aquas. So that is my personal way of that I'm going to be playing this tournament. I wouldn't say it's the best, but I would say it's very fun, and it does good.
We got 1 week left to the tournament. How locked is this deck? You still got some flex spots, or are you pretty happy with it?
I'm pretty happy with the cards that have been chosen in the deck. I am not happy with amounts right now. I think I need another copy of Aquafy. I think I need another copy of Baku Mortar, and maybe drop Baku Mortar for another Tempest Generator. I'm not sure, but I definitely feel like there are some cards in here that need 3 ofs that are only at 2.
Cool. All right, man. Well, a week to the tournament. We'll see how it does next week.